The gripper crane is something that I think every installer should be using to safely install a basketball goal. We have a kit. I used to build these things and send them out completely assembled, and the freight is like crazy because of the size of the box it would have to be. So I have broke everything down in such a way that, believe it or not, this is our demo crane today. So we got this is a short stick here. It's the crane, and this is what will get attached to the ladder. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to build the crane right here on the table, and we'll show you how easy this is to put together. But the reason why it's a shorter stick is because for the demonstration purposes, we're either going to, I wouldn't be able to use this because we would not be through the ceiling. So that's why we have that. Now, putting this aside and this stick, I've got this thing designed in such a way that the rest of this crane, all of the uprights, all of the connectors, all the hardware, all of this, everything right here fits inside this tube. The whole crane fits inside the tube. So if you was to purchase one from me off the website, when you get it, it'll be wrapped up, it'll have your address on it and everything, and then you would undo it. Everything is in the tube. You would just dump everything out and then start the assembly process. Now there is a sequence to assembling this this crane. I'm going to try and do this as fast as I can. Typical hardware. This is the hardware for this one because I brought my tools and everything. Now, the crane does not, when you purchase it, it does not come with the winch. All right, this is a 900-pound rated winch. It will work, but I have. If there's anybody who's going to purchase the crane, I mean, today at the conference, the crane's $200 if you purchase it today. If you need shipping, we're going to have to talk about that. But I do have two of the 1,500-pound winches. If anybody wants to purchase those now. So the first thing that we're going to do is when you get the kit, you'll have to buy a winch, and you have to get two 4-inch C-clamps. And on these C-clamps, what you're going to need to do, if you look at this here, the C-clamp has they come with this bell on there, all right? It's a little bell shape for the tip of the clamp. That bell has got to be removed, all right? And the reason why is when the gripper is put together, that goes down inside there, and it gives a much more secure grip to the backboard. So the way you get the bell off is you back it off here. See how quick I can do this. Okay, all you need to do is just take it and spin it around, and it pops off. So you can just throw that part away, and then you run your thread right back down again. We don't need to run it all the way down because we're going to have it open to get the grip around the backboard that I have for the demonstration. So I'll back that off a little bit. Okay, sequence. There's all the hardware. Okay. All right, I've switched out the longer one because obviously we cannot use that. We're going to use the shorter one here. Thank you, Chris Manick, for getting some tools for me that I've forgotten to put this thing together. And then Mike Kuhn did a nice thing for me and got everything separated out. It's something I should have done a few minutes ago, because quite honestly, when you do any type of an assembly, you should have your hardware separated out so that you know where everything is. If it's bubble packed, you don't have to worry about it. But if it's in one great big bag like this is, separate it out so you know where everything is. All right, let's go ahead and get back into it. The first section of the crane we're going to assemble is the bottom part that connects to the ladder. And on this, again, you use a countersink. You can use a countersink screw or a countersink bolt, and then to tension it without tightening it so tight that you can't turn this, you use a nylon locking nut so that you can crank this down to like a torque setting and lock it in such a way that it will not move. And if there we go. This is Allen wrench, a little bit stripped out on the end there. It needs to hit the grinder.
It's had a lot of usage, Mike.
Yeah. Well, just a real quick tip: if you have Allen wrenches, you need a grinder, because if you can knock the tips off and use the Allen wrenches for a long time. I think I need a shorter bolt. Okay, that's good there. You want it on there tight enough to where it doesn't vibrate and it will move pretty freely. All right, so to make sure that you're on the same side, we're going to go to the center hole. Use a standard 2.5 inch bolt. Run it through. Flip it over. Another nylon locking nut. Lock this down. Mike was just saying that these Craftsman's don't work out well. Mike, this is an old wrench. There we go. I got it. There we go. Okay. Bring it down to just firm. You got it. I got the right there. And now what we've got, this piece here, this piece is called the kickstand, and you'll see exactly what it's for when we use it on the ladder itself. So we're going to need another 2.5 inch bolt. And another nylon locking nut. Take it all the way down. There. All right. Now what you're going to want to do is hook up your winch, and to do that we need to make sure that we know this part here with the these two pieces of bar stock, they go against the ladder. They will go against the ladder, so that means that your winch has to be on this side. So leave this section. Let's flip this down to show its purpose. Run the kickstand down. going to hold. It's going to hold right here, and then you simply hook the the winch. Make sure you have it in the right direction. You might go ahead and set it like this. It's on the opposite side. 2.5 inch bolt, run it through. Now this is going to take what's called a flange nut, because there's no movement in this. This is going to be a permanently attached piece. Actually, in the instructions, I don't have written instructions in front of me, so I'm not following them. And to be quite honest with you, the bottom section needs to be put in first. So this bolt needs to come up through this slotted section here and put into the lower part. And the reason why on this side of the winch that I have the bolt going in this way and not have this piece of the nut sticking out is I don't want that nut to be tearing into my strap as it's going up and down. So you want the upper one, it doesn't matter. The thing with the upper one is you can't get it into the hole because this little bar is in the way. So on the upper one you need to come in on the back side, and it's flange nuts on both nuts, both bolts on the top for the winch. Around. And the nice thing about a flange nut is those flanges allow you to tighten it down, because those flanges go into the material and lock. So now I don't need two wrenches to tighten this up. It just takes one wrench, with the exception of the lower section, because it's just the opposite. Okay, there you are. It's already put together. The gripper is put together. It's on a kickstand. This will hold it up into place. Let's get this thing like so. There. And now let's put. This is the gripper part. So we've got. These are called elevator bolts. So on those we need to run a standard nut on the elevator bolt. And the reason why we use elevator bolts is because they will provide footing on the top of the backboard to be able to, because there's some manufacturers that have some nuts that stick up across the top of the backboard, and to clear those nuts you put these feet on to raise the bar up over that. So again, we're going to use flange nuts. Now, the thing is, you got a wider hole and a smaller hole. You're going to want the elevator bolt to go into the smaller hole, and you're going to use a flange nut. You want to run your finger, hold it, and put your finger on it, take it in. Now, it's going to be kind of hard for you to see what I'm talking about here, but you do not want to run the elevator bolt all the way up inside the flange nut. You want it to have a little bit of a crater, because that's what this ball on the clamp is going to seat in. And that way, when that ball goes into that crater, it's going to keep it from moving around on you. All right, so let's go ahead and crank this side down. And go to the other one. And another flange nut. Right down with your finger, line it up to the hole. Oops. I got it. Line it up to the hole. You can feel the elevator bolt as you're twisting it, and as it comes up to that flange nut, you'll be able to feel it. When it comes up flush to the top of the flange nut, just give it a little quarter turn, and then run your common nut up in there, and then crank it down into place. Now the other thing you're going to do is take another standard nut and run it all the way up on your eye bolt. The eye bolt is what the strap on the gripper crane is going to connect into. Now you got to realize I'm assembling this, but once it's assembled, once it is assembled, it's done. And the only thing that you do is you break it down and you carry it with you in your vehicle. You can carry this thing around a Volkswagen. So we got it to there. Now, one thing that you should do is you want this eye bolt to be perpendicular to the gripper, to the post on the gripper, and you can make some adjustments. It doesn't have to be perfect, but the more perfect it is, the straighter the backboard's going to come up. If it's like this, it's going to cause the gripper part to tilt over that. So you want to try and get this eye bolt as perpendicular to this as you possibly can. Okay, so there's the gripper. It's done. Now, what we want to do is run, what I have here are what's called Fender Washers. They're a 2-inch, half-inch fender washer. It's got a half-inch diameter. We're using 3/8, right? What happens is when you use a nylon locking nut, that 3/8 flange, or that 3/8 nylon nib, fits right inside that half-inch hole. So what we're going to want to do to get our clamping system for the crane done is we're going to run, when you grab the threads down in here, there's nothing that's ever going to affect these threads. So if you gum them up right now, it's not going to hurt anything. So go ahead and they don't have to go down very far. Put the fender washer on, and then you take one of your flange nuts, tighten it down, bring it, come up a little closer here, crank that baby down. Okay, there's one done. Now, when you get if you get your kit, I'm going to honestly tell you that the way these are cut on the end, sometimes I have cut them and they've got a little bit of a burr on them. You might have to clean them up a little bit. It might be a little bit difficult to get these nuts on both sides. I cheated on this. I ran a little dye on it to clean it up. So there you go there. Flange nut. And lock that baby down. There's another 4 of them. Nylon locking nut. We'll go ahead and get this one on. Do this one too. Grab a hold of it and run it down. You want to run this down to where there's probably just over a 1/4 of an inch, maybe 5/16 of an inch of thread sticking above the nylon locking nut. Flange bolt that down. Whenever you tighten things down, this is good to run. Your ratchets are good to run them down. If you want to save your tools over time, use your ratchet to get it into place, and then when you're ready to torque it up, use your box end. That will save your tools, and your tools will last much, much longer. Last one, we are done on the assembly. have it assembled. Got an extra piece of hardware. How often does that happen? And now we've got these 3/8 wing nuts. I'm not going to put them on right this second, but real quick I'm going to kind of check to make sure that they will go on easy. If they don't, you might want to use a small die set, the 3/8 16, to clean it up. These are going on.